Hey, what's up, Stay Tuners? It's your good friend Jimbo here, letting you know that today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member and you can too. Apply today and let them know that you heard it from Stay Tuned Sports and you start earning today. That's podgo.co at podgo.co.
Heard the rest. Now here's the best Stay Tuned Sports Podcast.
And hello there, all you Stay Tuners. Welcome back to another episode of Stay Tuned Sports. I'm your good friend Jimbo here, back again with some. I think we got a good show. A little bit different topics than normal. There's nothing really in the news to talk about. I will touch on about stupid fans getting involved in the NBA games, running onto the court, causing problems. But I will also be talking about, I saw this post on Facebook from actually one of the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series drivers, Steven Doziak, saying Ozzie Smith is the greatest shortstop of all time. And it got me thinking, who could be? I'll throw two other names out on top of Ozzie Smith to discuss about a little bit. But before we get into the show, head over to staytunesports.net so that way you can get all of our social media accounts, which is on the right hand side there. Follow us there on Twitter, YouTube, all that stuff. And at the top of the page is the merch tab. So in case you want to get some hats for the summer or whatnot. But you're definitely going to want to follow our Facebook page and our Twitter page, because every Friday or Thursday, whenever I get the link for the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series race, I share it out there so you guys could tune in and watch them. I will be touching on a little bit about last week, how that race went. And, pretty good race. Couple racers surprisingly fell down behind, down 2 laps or whatever, was able to come back to get back on the lead lap. But like I said, a little bit, I'll get into that. But I want to kick it off with the whole fan thing going on here. So a couple days ago, the latest one was a fan ran out onto the Washington Wizards basketball court while they were playing the 76ers and tried to jump up and touch the back of the backboard. Well, before he could do that, the security guard was able to tackle him. No one was hurt, put in handcuffs, all that happy stuff. But really, the week got kicked off. I believe in Boston was the first one that really caught my eye. And that was when a jerk decided to throw a water bottle at Kyrie Irving. Most likely because he, in a way, stomped on the Celtics logo or, scuffed up the logo, however you want to say it. And then the other one was I believe a Sixers game. Guy dumped popcorn on Westbrook as he was leaving the court after sustaining an injury. Now, a lot of people are getting on Westbrook saying, dude, it was popcorn. You acted like it was acid or something like that. And, okay, yeah, it's popcorn. It's not going to hurt you. But these fans that are doing this stuff are like little kids, if you think about it, okay? Okay, maybe I could throw popcorn this time. Well, no one did anything to me, so maybe I'll throw a water bottle. Okay, he throws a water bottle. Well, no one did anything to me there, so I'll try run out into the court. And, they're going to just keep doing it until something happens. Yeah, okay, they get arrested. What is it, like a $500 fine? And maybe not even probation. Just a little fine, a little slap on the wrist. So as much as I don't like him, LeBron James tweeted out that, it's about time the NBA start taking player safety into consideration when it comes to situations like this. But how do you stop this stuff? I know a few years ago, at least with the NFL, they stopped serving alcohol after third quarter. They switched to when the cutoff point for alcohol. But majority of these fans probably are drunk when they do something like this. But what's the point of it? I mean, you get 2 seconds of TV time if it's nationally broadcasted, but then you gotta pay $500 fine. The only thing I could think of is, obviously most of the time this stuff happens where the players leave or come from the field or the basketball court. Put more security around the tunnels, up near the steps. And I'd be willing to bet that, like, for example, the Sixers guy that threw the popcorn, no one knew who threw it except for Westbrook's teammate, because he saw it. Now, obviously, Kyrie Irving. Oh, and the other one was, I think, Trey Brown, a person spinning on him. That one right there, I mean, that should be like felony assault, especially with everything going on right now with COVID. Yeah, it's getting better, but still out there. But why spit on a man? It's like, I mean, I hate the Dallas Cowboys, okay? Out of all the sports teams out there that I follow and their rivals, the Dallas Cowboys are my worst ones I hate. But I would never spit on them. I wouldn't wish ill will, like broken legs or anything. Just want to see them lose. I want to see them lose bad. But back to, how can we stop this? Well, if you're that type of person, if you're that type of person that if you get drunk, you'll just do anything on a whim, where's your so-called friends at? Because they're not the ones going to be bailing you out of jail. Or your girlfriend or your wife, they're not bailing you out of jail. And as far as the NBA goes, okay, yeah, you ban their season tickets. Even if they bought the ticket from a season ticket holder, it's not going to stop it. So I think the best way is put more security around the tunnels or wherever, dugouts or whatever players are coming in and out of, to help eliminate or at least curb the tendencies for all this to happen. But I just never understood, and this is coming from an Eagles fan who's seen snowballs get thrown at Santa Claus, batteries get thrown at JD Drew. Never understood it. And most likely never will. So last weekend, the NSRA guys were racing again for the Stay Tuned Sports podcast truck series, and they were at Dover. A surprisingly good start from hit my desk much like what happened in the second half of this race. Surprisingly a good start to the whole race. A long green flag run there. Not a lot of space to pass, so you had to have a lot of patience, it seemed like. But once he got going, a lot of the racers were driving like kind of aggressively or whatever, which then the second half of the race you start to see a little bit more of the cautions. Now the points leader, Mitchell Adams, I gotta give him credit. During the race he was down 2 laps. I forget exactly what happened. I think he pitted the one time, and as he was pitting, a caution came out which kind of helped put him behind 2 laps. but he was able to work his way back onto the lead lap. So he passed the leader twice. Okay, basically. When I play PlayStation, any type of racing games, and I'm down 2 laps, I'm done. There's no way I could get back up to the front there. And even Ben Izinga did the same thing. There was one car, I forget who it was, but there was a real bad caution. Guy blew his engine up or whatever, so he went to the pit because it was early on in the race. I guess he felt like if he got the damage fixed, he could come back out and just race a little bit. But he was bellowing smoke. I even commented in the YouTube chat that it looks like there was a fire on pit road. And every time, even when there was no yellow flag out there and then the guys are driving around, and when they drive past the pit, it was so thick that it was actually coming out onto the track. So kudos to all the drivers not letting that distract them at all. But in the end, like I said, Mitchell Adams was down 2 laps, eventually got back on the lead, and ended up winning the race itself. So very, very good race. He's the first racer this year to win 2 races. Before him, we had a new winner each week. So he was the first one to win 2 races this year and go back-to-back with the wins. Now, this coming Friday, they're at Atlanta. So make sure you guys come over on YouTube, look up 3Y TV at 9 p.m. Eastern, and that's where you'll be able to find us. Make sure you chime in the chat, pick a driver or whatnot. But as far as my 3 racers to watch for this race, my first one is Bill Edwards. He actually had a strong race last week. I believe led a few laps, was up there a good amount of time, I would say. Had 1 or 2 issues. I know one run there he had really old tires, so everybody was pretty much passing him by, but he was able to get that fixed. And right now he's 13 in points, so he's definitely looking to get back up there, because I know he was off at least a week, maybe 2 weeks he missed prior to last week's race. So if he could get another good outing last week, because he finished in 5th, I believe it was 5th place. No, he didn't finish 5th, but he had a top 10 finish there. I think he is one definitely to watch to try to pull off a win here. And then another one, my second one is Ben Izinga. Much like Mitchell Adams, he was down 2 laps, but was able to work his way back onto the lead lap, finishing in 5th. He was the one that finished in 5th, that's right. But he's still looking for his first win. And I think he has a couple top 5s and a few more top 10s. So again, he's another racer that's right there sniffing the win column and may possibly pull it off this week. And then my third one here is Ben Mashburn. Just seems like, as far as the wins, he's having small bad luck. I mean, he's still doing good. 5 out of 6 races, he's been in the top 10. So he's consistently in the top 10, just can't get over that hump to get the first W of the season. And maybe this week will be the time, so we'll see. Sorry, Chris. I know you probably want me to pick you, but as my top 3 racers, but I think these guys may push you a little bit this week, so we will see. But yeah, make sure you guys tune in Friday night, 9 p.m. over on YouTube at 3Y TV. Join in the chat. We all have a good time there, and it's even the broadcast, not serious like you see on Fox or ABC or anything like that. They put a nice little spin of comedy on a little bit, even with there's little glitches. But So yeah, Friday, 9 p.m. Earlier this week, I saw one of the NSRA guys that race in the STS podcast truck series post on their Facebook, Steven Doziak, that he believes Ozzie Smith is the greatest of all time and no one could change his mind. Now, me being an Orioles fan, I'm always going to feel like Cal Ripken was the best shortstop ever to play. If you're a Yankees fan, you're going to say Derek Jeter, this and that. So I did some digging. I did some research to look. Now, you could throw in, pretty much any shortstop over, the lifespan of baseball, okay? But what I did is I figured out basically Ozzie Smith, Derek Jeter, and Cal Ripken are all played in the same era, pretty much. I mean, Ozzie Smith started a little bit earlier than Cal. Cal started a little bit earlier than Derek, but they all pretty much retired around the same time, so they all played the same era. And there was some stats that was surprising, and some not so much. So one of the first things that popped up to me, and I had to Google to see what it is a player's WAR rating, WAR. Okay, in case you don't know what that is, WAR measures a player's value in all facets of the game by deciphering how many more wins he's worth than a replacement level player at his same position. Okay, so basically, if there's 100 players that could replace Cal Ripken and do better, his WAR rating is going to be less. And obviously vice versa. Okay, so when you look at just that one alone, now Cal Ripken played 21 years, Derek played 20, and Ozzie played 19. So pretty much all the same amount of time, okay? Cal Ripken WAR rating was 95.9, Derek Jeter was 71.3, Ozzie Smith was 76.9. Now, to me, I think that's kind of eye-opening in a way. That Derek Jeter and Ozzie Smith, a lot more players could replace them than Cal Ripken and get the wins, and by a big margin too. I mean, almost 20 points. That's impressive. But when you really break down the stats, I mean, you look at Cal Ripken. He's the Iron Man. Broke the consecutive game played or started record. Had over 3,000 hits. Derek Jeter had over 3,000 hits. Ozzie Smith, surprisingly to me, I thought he had more hits than this. Only had 2,500 hits, or 2,460 hits, okay? The thing that surprised me about Ozzie Smith, career home runs, 28, that's it. Out of 19 years, only 28 home runs. Now, Derek and Cal, Derek had 260, Cal had 431. Now, does that contribute to playing in Camden Yard all those years? Maybe. But also on the flip side, Derek Jeter also visits there a lot more than Ozzie Smith. Okay. Batting average, Cal was 276, which I was surprised about. I thought he'd be a lot closer to Derek Jeter, who was 310. The thing with me, I could keep spinning these stats out and everything like that, but when you really look at all the stats, the thing that really jumps out to me, and this is why I think Cal gets the nod over these two, was the fact of all the games he played consecutively. Okay, he broke that record. Games played. He played over 3,000 games compared to Derek Jeter and Ozzie Smith. That's just insane. Over 3,000 games. I mean, Derek Jeter towards the end of his career, getting injured, I mean, when Ozzie Smith was playing, I was, I don't know, 10, 12 years old, so I kind of remember him a little bit. I mean, I got his little starting lineup figurine, all that, but I'm sorry, I just think Cal is the better shortstop, the GOAT, if you want to call it that, over these two. And I actually did a Twitter vote for a couple days to see who on Twitter would pick as the greatest. And much like my decision, Twitter picked Cal Ripken with 47%, Derek Jeter with 27%, and Ozzie with 26%. Now, some of the comments I've seen about Derek Jeter was, at best he's above average player, but when it came to the playoffs, he was Mr. Clutch. Well, that kind of goes back to the whole Julian Edelman argument. He's average during the year, given the playoffs, he's great. I mean, his numbers are up there with some of the greats. Cal was consistent. He played good in the regular season. He played good in the playoffs. Didn't matter when it was. And Jeter only had one MVP, where Cal had two. And I mean, it seems like I'm taking like the Cal versus Derek Jeter argument here, or battle, if you want to call it that, and not really talking about Ozzie Smith. But Ozzie defensively was good, and I think that's why everybody thinks he's one of the best. They're not taking into consideration overall, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about overall. If you take Derek Jeter off the Yankees and put him with the A's, no one would be talking about him even being the greatest. Because even my comment I said about Mike Trout with the A's, some consider him the best baseball player in baseball right now, but he's not getting that recognition. Why? Because he's not playing on a big name team. You put him on the Yankees or even the Phillies, I would consider have more name recognition than the Angels. But being that I think Jeter was on the Yankees, helped boost him a little bit, boost his name, his brand, whatever you want to call it, to get some of these awards, because a lot of these awards are more of a popularity contest, in my opinion. But I will always defend Cal Ripken as one of the greatest shortstops ever to play the game. Do I want to say he's the greatest ever? I might have to do some research on that, but definitely top 5 greatest overall in baseball. So we got some UFC fights this week. No UFC fights last week, or Bare Knuckle, which Bare Knuckle will be back in 2-3 weeks, I think. June 26th, I believe it is. But since we have some UFC fights this weekend, we're bringing back our Combat Corner segment, which is sponsored by Bet Angles, live scores, odds, and the best expert picks every day. Start winning today at betangles.com. So, I mean, looking at this card, it's kind of like a good movie. You're all hyped up in the beginning, got you going. Then the middle comes and it kind of just lulls. This is what I feel like about this card when it comes to this card in between the last pay-per-view. It's not over exciting, if you want to call it that. Excuse me, I had to take a drink. So we got Rosenstruck versus Saki in the heavyweight division. Now, that's the only thing I think it has going for them is they got 2 heavyweight fights, and They got 2 heavyweight fights, 3 middleweight fights, and a welterweight fight. So there is potential to have some good knockouts and submissions here. Some fights that may not go to decision. But the main, like I said, main event is Rosenstruck versus Saki. Co-main event is Walt Harris versus Tybura. Middleweight, we got Roman Dolidze versus Laureano Staropoli. And I'm sorry if I'm butchering his names. Welterweight, we have Panzini Bio versus Miguel Baeza. Middleweight, we have Todorovic versus Rodriguez. And then kicking it off, we have Tom Breeze versus Antonio Arroyo. And here's the other thing about this card with me, as far as I go. Pretty much only the main event and the co-main event are fighters I know who they are. These other guys, with this being a UFC fight night, these guys may have been on a pay-per-view prelim, the past few times, and finally got onto a main card, and is how they bring them up through the ranks. But kicking off the card, Tom Breeze versus Aurelio. I'm going to go with Tom Breeze here. Like I said, in the middleweight division, pretty much I'm going to be throwing darts at the wall here. I'm going to go Tom Breeze with a knockout. Then after that fight, we have Todorovic versus Rodriguez. I'm going to go with Rodriguez here. After them, the welterweight fight, Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Miguel Baeza. I'm going to go with Miguel here. After that fight, we have a middleweight fight, Roman Dolidze versus Laureano Staropoli. I'm going to go with Staropoli here. Then the heavyweight fight, we co-main event here, Walt Harris versus Marcin Uberia. I'm going to go with Walt Harris. And then the main event, Rosenstruck versus Sakai. Rosenstruck was on a good streak there till he ran into Francis Ngannou, and Ngannou put him on planet Jupiter with the uppercut he landed. I think Rosenstruck's going to win this one. Still young and hungry, so I think a win here could help get him back onto that streak of getting back to to title contention. So that is our Combat Corner segment, which is sponsored by BetAngles. Live scores, odds, and the best expert picks every day. Start winning today at betangles.com. So I think that's going to be it for us this week. Like I said, make sure you guys head over to YouTube on Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, over on 3Y TV to watch the Stay Tuned Sports Truck series. I'll be there. I'll be chiming in with my comments and jokes and all that stuff. Also, head over to staytunedsports.net for all of our social media accounts, which is on the right-hand side there. You want to follow them, which will help, when I send the link out, you guys can find a link that way also. And we also have the merch tab up top, hats. Maybe I should start making some tank tops for summer. I'll put some of those in the shop as well. So until next week, it's your good friend Jimbo, signing out.